Orthodox Christians of the Eastern Rite, that is, believers of the Orthodox Church, have a special devotion to the so-called relics, that is, to the incorruptible remains of church saints. For many Orthodox Christians, even today, relics are a miraculous phenomenon, but only when they are incorruptible, that is, not subject to natural decomposition. One such relic in the Russian Orthodox Church is the relics of Saint Alexander of Svir. It is curious that this relic was found twice. And the second time turned out to be a real detective story. In the first half of the 20th century, the communist authorities of Russia tried to do everything to hide the relics from believers. The workers began to demand an inspection of the contents of the sarcophagi. These openings revealed a whole series of falsifications, with the help of which the clergy deceived the people, the Soviet magazine, Revolution and the Church reported at the time. At the height of the campaign to desacralize Christian relics. The reason was an incident that had occurred several years earlier. In October 1918, the 8th Liquidation Department of the People's Commissariat of Justice arrived in Petrozavodsk province. It was necessary to remove all valuables from the local Alexander Svirsky monastery, as well as to open the tomb of some miracle worker located in the monastery. When registering the liturgical property, a wax doll was discovered in the cast sarcophagus instead of incorruptible relics, the report reported. The triumph of materialism was obvious. Only this message was false. In reality, what the Chekists saw amazed and surprised them. That's why the head of the task force, August Wagner, couldn't come up with anything better than the phrase, wax doll. The Bolsheviks probably didn't fully understand what they were up against. Alexander Svirsky, who founded a monastery in the remote Ladoga forests at the end of the 15th century, was revered even during his lifetime. Believing Orthodox Christians associate him with many miracles. The main one is the appearance of the Holy Trinity to him. In the entire biblical history, this happened only once, with the Old Testament prophet Abraham. The Russian ascetic was canonized in 1547, just 15 years after his death. The Moscow Tsar Ivan the Terrible especially respected this saint, even dedicating one of the corners of the Moscow Cathedral of Saint Basil the Blessed to him. But the relics of Alexander Svirsky themselves were found only in the middle of the 17th century. And as was stated in the chronicles, they were completely incorruptible. The silver sarcophagus weighing almost 700 kilograms, in which they were placed, was later confiscated by the Bolsheviks. And the relics themselves, which they called a wax doll, they handed over to doctors, for their research. However, after a thorough examination, the medical commission came to the conclusion, this is not a dummy, but a real human body, mummified in a natural way. In order to hide the truth from the people, the authorities quickly came up with several versions. In the following reports, Wagner wrote that he found in the coffin a skull, 3 teeth and a lower jaw. Another report says, an ordinary skeleton of a mortal man. And in a third, a pile of half-decayed bones. As a rule, the communists placed relics in museums, for display. But in the case of Svirsky, his remains were taken to the storage of the Military Medical Academy in Petrograd. There, the relic lay in storage among more than 10,000 exhibits. Nevertheless, this relic was still an eyesore for the authorities. They repeatedly tried to destroy it, especially at the height of the anti-religious campaign of the 1930s. The priceless artifact was preserved by Soviet academician Vladimir Tonkov, who worked at the Department of Anatomy of the Military Medical Academy. During searches by the Bolshevik secret services, or the People's Commissariat of Internal Affairs, he hid the relics between the wall and a large antique cabinet. After the professor's death in 1954, the relic mysteriously disappeared. And after several decades, it was completely forgotten. Time passed, and in 1997, after the collapse of the USSR, the restoration of the plundered Alexander Svirsky Monastery began. In July of that year, we received a letter signed by the Valam monks in several lines. as soon as the Alexander Svirsky Monastery is officially opened, the relics of the saint will immediately be returned by the Lord, recalled Archbishop Lukian Kutsenko, who was then the abbot of the monastery. The monks began to search for the body. Soon, enthusiasts joined in, led by nun Leonida Safonova of the Pokrovo-Drvenichesky Monastery. Before taking monastic vows, she worked as a biologist for more than 30 years. I carefully studied the inventories of the funds and documents in the repositories of the Moscow and St. Petersburg archives, recalled the nun. The particular difficulty was that the bulk of the documents were lost or deliberately destroyed during the campaign to liquidate, falsify and discredit the relics of the saints. An unexpected clue was found in the reports of August Wagner. In the materials of the Liquidation Commission, I came across the term wax doll, recalled nun Leonida. Comparison of various versions of the description of the appearance of the relics of Saint Alexander, falsified by the Chekists, with this document allowed me to conclude that the relics of the saint remained whole and indestructible. The trail led her to the museum at the Military Medical Academy. By the early 1990s, no one remembered that the Bolsheviks had transported the doll here. In the storage facilities they found a box for storing exhibits, without a number or an archival card. Only with the inscription, mummified body of an unknown man. The employees unanimously repeated, this is an exceptional case. For something unaccounted for to be kept in the academy, where everything is described and catalogued in detail, the nun wrote. When the body was found, no one had any doubts, these were the relics of Alexander Svirsky. One of the signs was the unnatural position of the legs, the right one, with the foot up, the left, to the side. This feature was also noted by Soviet scientists in 1918. From the academy, the body was transferred to the City Forensic Medical Service for examination. For more than 6 months, at our request, the relics were studied by radiologists, anthropologists, forensic experts, anatomists, Archbishop Lucian recalled. Their report was 250 pages long, with acts and photographs attached. The specialists admitted that the body matched the descriptions of the relics of Alexander Svirsky left by chroniclers. So the relic was found for the second time, and in 1998 it was returned to the monastery on Ladoga. What do you think about this, dear viewers? Write about it in the comments. And see you on our channel.